That was the last day I saw her. The day I was taken.
Was that the first and only time you've been abducted?
Does anyone copy my transmission?
Urban legend has it that Space Rock is a place with healing powers that originated from the crashed spaceship in Roswell. So, anyone believe in aliens?
What a freak. Loser.
If anything ever happens, I'm gonna save you. Didn't that place go sour after the attack?
Nobody knows if that's true or not. It's not like anybody ever found it, but we're gonna try.
I don't know if it's a distress call or what, but that transmission has been repeating for the last 51 days.
Do you know that you're exposed to top secret military exercise? Which alerted the Soviets.
So I didn't make contact with them?
I'm sorry, them?
Aliens? The unidentified has to be an alien spacecraft. We need to find that black box and see what really happened.
They took her.
Who took her?
Them.
What happened to Firefly?
Do you know where she is?
The White House has just been evacuated. No sign of how many more are headed this way.
Are the aliens coming?
I think we've come to the end of this journey. It's time to say goodbye to Space Rock.
Boom, there you go. That was the trailer for ROSWELL Delirium. I'm Kuya. This is Nerds Rule the World. And as you see on the screen, I'm so delighted to have the man behind ROSWELL Delirium, the writer, director, Richard Bakewell. I hope I pronounced that right. Yes.
You got it 100%. Thank you, my friend. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure, sir. Again, thank you. Thank you for your time. As a fellow filmmaker, I know how hard it is to get the word out on our projects, all the time and commitment we do with these things. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. So
right.
It's all about giving the flowers. When we finally cross that finish line, it's out there for the people. And I try to do my best to support my fellow filmmakers. So again, congrats. We're here. And we just showed the trailer. ROSWELL Delirium. As a UFO nut myself, a lover of aliens, a believer, if you will. And you know, I have my other side of my job beyond filmmaking and being a critic is I work over at a 5-sided building here in the DC area. So you know, I got a little bit of knowledge of some stuff here and there, but
sure.
Not that I can confirm nor deny. But it's always fascinated me, you know, also working on special programs with the Air Force. So, you know, you get to learn about the things that we did to develop and, you know, the true stuff, the fake stuff. I'm curious about your journey as I know you're a director. You've worked on amazing projects with a bunch of different people. But how did like aliens and UFOs and all of that kind of come into your stratosphere to want to make ROSWELL Delirium?
Well, you know, I've done drama, I've done horror, you know, I'm like, well, I haven't really done sci-fi yet. I'm like, I don't know how I can do a sci-fi film. So I really thought about it. And then before the pandemic, I had an idea about this mother who leaves, you know, her child in the desert to give her to aliens. And it was just kind of like a thought. And then it just kind of expanded into more. And the idea that aliens are here to save us and that they're going to like, you know, like in the film, the kids and the adults have radiation poisoning. So they're all dying. So like they're trying to go to this magical place. I'm like, well, what if this place is called Space Rock and the aliens are there just to help people? And that was the whole concept that just kind of really started to grow. And, you know, I think too many times you see aliens and they're always the villains, you know, they want to kill us. But like, what if they're actually here to help us, you know? So what if they're here to actually save the day for a change?
I love that, to be honest, as a believer and one that, you know, if they do come, because again, if they can come here, which I believe they have in different ways, you know, then, and we can't do that, then we should play nice.
Yes,
definitely come with welcoming hands and not weapons and all of that. So thank you for kind of cutting out of that trend that the rest of the world does. So amazing. I love it. So early in the pandemic, you came up with a script. If you could tell me a little bit more of that pre-pro, and I want to eventually get to just as an 80s baby, just the plethora of stars that you got involved. And I saw that Anthony Michael Hall, who is one of those big stars, also became on board as a producer. If you can talk about a little bit of the pre-pro, how long did it take to write the script once you had that germ of an idea into then, just building up your crew, eventual cast?
Well, I had the idea back in 2018, and then I kind of wrote as a short in 2019, and then in 2020 we were going to film it. Pandemic happened, they kind of shut down everything, so we couldn't film anymore. So I wrote 17 drafts, like a feature. I spent some time researching aliens, finding out there's all these weird things that happen where they were trying to like launch all these nuclear weapons, and then things weren't working, and there was a speculation the aliens were involved, but they wouldn't, confirm it or not. And I just kept writing like 17 drafts. And then about, I think April of 2022, we really started going forward. We started doing casting in person, and we were the only production doing in-person casting. Everybody's all on Zoom, but I was like, well, I want to have everybody come in person. And we found like so many amazing young talents, Caden Tokarski, George McPhail, Roman Smith, Connor Barrett. So many wonderful people. Ashton Selecki, who plays the older version of Firefly in the film. And then, I already had, Kylie and Ari attached, who are the two of the mains in the movie as well. And then it was like, well, who do we need for an all-star cast? So as we're trying to like build this 80s all-star cast, we're also trying to crew up, and I had my producers, Larissa and Glenn and Patrick and Lorna and Dan, that's helping, with casting, trying to find crew. And then we got like Molly Thomas for production and design. And then we had Carter Ross for the DP. But then it was like, okay, then we got Sam Jones on board, and he was the first one because nobody wants to be the first person. It's always hard to get someone of caliber to sign on. So once we got Sam and we got Dee, it was pretty easy. Dee was so willing to be a part of it, and she has some emotional scenes in the film. And then it was like Lisa got on board pretty quickly to play the school teacher. And then her agent also represents Reginald VelJohnson, who I love to death from Family Matters and Die Hard. And then that was a very fast deal. And then, Michael was last. And then it was like, now we have everybody secured, and it was just like, it was this rapid fire. And then, the last piece for us was a composer once we were done with post. And that was my producer, Glenn, got Troy Van Leeuwen involved, who is from the Queens of the Stone Age guitarist, and did a fantastic score. And, that was like the last piece to make the whole film work as a whole. So,
wow.
Yeah.
I'm gonna equate that to dominoes. Like, you're a wicked dominoes player. Like, all of the dominoes just bam, just lined up. That is amazing.
Yes.
Congrats to you, man. And to the entire cast and crew. It takes a village, as we know as filmmakers, to put forth a production, and shout out to everybody on the team that made that happen. I started thinking about the writing process again as a fellow writer, creative.
Sure.
And as a believer, I was like, were you? I'm curious if you were a believer beforehand in aliens or just the concept, and then or as you dive deeper into research, which is always fun as well, right? To then put the puzzle pieces together.
Sure.
Did you become more of a believer? But what I did notice, and as we see from all the amazing 80s actors you have in there as well as an 80s baby, also kind of like in the script, certain references, especially when I saw in the trailer, like you are a film nerd, and at least an 80s film nerd, because you gave us some cool little Easter eggs.
Well, it's funny because we just had a screening in Chandler, Arizona, and I was asked about the Easter eggs, and I'm like, there's over 200 Easter eggs. In the third shot of the film, there's a ham radio, and on the radio it says 8675309. So I mean, like, you have to pay attention. There's so much dialogue that's sprinkled in the film that seems like it's really, real dialogue, but there's some like song lyrics in there, and there's a movie references from The Karate Kid to Star Wars. I mean, Top Gun, Risky Business, but it's all treated as real dialogue. So it's not campy at all. It just it's kind of like snuck in there a little bit, and doing my research too, like for the alien aspect, I was always kind of a believer, because I'm like, we're very small in this universe. I mean, there has to be more. I mean, the fact that, if we started off without any real housing, air conditioning, airplanes, sailboats, whatever, and now all of a sudden these things exist, I'm like, I don't think man was smart enough to make it all by himself. I think there had to be an influence, and I think probably another life form came and here's these tools to make these things, and a lot of my research, people who had alien encounters, they sometimes would have these encounters and then they would forget everything. And then there'd be a trigger at some point in their life where they remembered things happening. But like, I think aliens have come here. I think they know we're very harmful, so they don't always want to show that they're here. And I think that people who have seen them, I think they forgot that they even had alien encounters, because I think if people knew aliens existed, the world would go insane. They would go completely manic, so.
Yeah. That's what I kind of like about this film already. I'm still watching it, y'all. For those that are watching this interview, I'll have it finished by the time you even see this interview. Can't wait. Like the little layers and the nuances in there in what you're saying with the material it's awesome. So with that being said, we're seeing it, and I think what's going to grab the eyes of the viewers and fans out there is it's a sci-fi thriller. We all love this stuff, or if you're into it or not, it grabs you. But what is beautiful, I think, as well is, and I was reading in some of the breakdown that I got, dealing with cancer. That's kind of the significance of this character with dealing with the aliens. But then also, I think I read with you, there's PTSD that you experience as well. I'm prior military, I work for the government here and there. I'm a filmmaker, you get rejection 99% of the time. I'm doing this because, I live in the DC area as a filmmaker, but I'm not in LA or New York. So I do other things to continue my love for the film industry. So it can just be trying. Life can be trying. And then just, we dealt with the pandemic, all of that. But I love that this, while with a sci-fi thriller film, we can talk about traumas and get conversations going, and hug your friends and just tell people you love them, and just deal with that stuff. If you can talk a little bit about that emotional construct that you really wanted to put out there in that message.
Yeah, because people always ask me, where does your inspiration come from? And I think, like, no one ever writes a movie when they're happy. I think they write stuff when they've lived through something traumatic. And I've lived through a lot of trauma in my life. I had PTSD from doing 2 years of cops. I saw a lot of people die. I've held a kid when he was dying in my hands. There's a lot of trauma that happens on that show that and you've been in the military, so things happen and you don't have time to process, and then this kind of hits you later, and that's kind of how that was for me in my life. And so I took a lot of trauma that I experienced personally. And then, I also, there's a lot of mental illness in this film as well. It's kind of represented in this film. Towards the end of the film, it kind of gets revealed. And, I've known people who are bipolar schizophrenic who are very close to me. And, sometimes people in life that you care about, you're friends with, and then also they disappear and you just kind of stop reaching out. And then you find out later that they killed themselves, So there's a lot of things I really wanted to put in there of my own experiences, and you kind of dive into a deep rabbit hole. And, but in the end, you try to make something beautiful. The film is very fun and nostalgic in the first half, but then there's the decay in the second act, and the third act is this deconstruction of the human soul. I mean, so there's a lot to it that I pulled from my own life to make it come together. So
awesome. Well, I want to tell you on behalf of, as a creative, as a filmmaker, as a fan of, this type of content, the bravery, I know people are like, I'm not brave or whatever, but it's awesome. And I think it helps starts conversations. And
sure.
As a creative that likes to entertain, but also kind of slyly educate people in a way, or just kind of get a message to it, I think you're doing that with this project. And again, I can't wait to finish up this film. And I thank you for ROSWELL Delirium. And let's tell people how it's out there, how they can catch it, and all that.
Yeah, well, right now we have another screening coming to the TLC Chinese Theater 6 on February 24th. It's going to be at the Golden State Film Festival, so you can go on there and get tickets to the screening. And then right now we're still in negotiations to have it on a platform. So I think, while we're in the festival run, we're kind of working the deals. So I think by June, it will be out there for everybody on a platform to see forever. So.
Wonderful. Well, I can't wait, man, for everybody else to see it like I am enjoying it. I know you have a Instagram and a Facebook. I saw that. I'm going to have everybody, you're checking this out right now. Once you're done watching this, the links are going to be in the description. Go over there, shoot them a follow so you can see when Richard has this out there. You're going to want to check this out, guys. It's so much fun right now and so inspiring, and just I love it. I'm all about aliens and 80s and just everything. You checked all the boxes with me, Richard.
Thank you, man. No, I can't wait for you to finish it too, and everyone to see it. So,
thank you, sir. Before we get up out of here, again, I'll have the links in the description below for the film. But for my fans are not gonna be your fans. How can they check you out online? I know there's Light Force Pictures, which is your company. I'll have that in the link below. But just anything else for anybody that is listening to this while they're driving, maybe, and can also remember that beyond just hitting the description. Where can they see you? Other projects, before we sign off.
Well, the projects I'm doing right now, they can see I just have a new film I was the DP of. It's going to play at Tribeca. It's about Linda Perry. It's going to premiere in there this summer. I also just did a MSNBC documentary called Serving in Secret, so they can watch that at MSNBC. And then I did, second season of Wall Street, Mark Wahlberg on HBO Max, so they can watch that, and that's kind of what we're doing right now. And then we're also reading some new scripts for another potential movie coming soon. So, there's things happening. So
I love it. Well, as those develop, man, please come back. Let's talk about it. Let me help you promote it, give you your flowers. But congratulations again on everybody. Roswell Delirium. Again, links are going to be in the description below. I think you said February timeframe.
Yep.
February 24th.
24th at the TLC Chinese Theater 6. Yep.
There you go. Y'all get your tickets. Get your tickets and stay tuned. Make sure you follow so when it comes out on digital, Blu-ray, all the things. Well, they're taking away digital now. Well, I don't know if you heard, Richard. I don't know how you feel about that, but as a fan and film nerd, I'm like, you can't even buy that. So it's just going to be digital. How can we get this content? Physical media is going away.
I think, Christopher Nolan's doing a hard push to get the physical format back out there again, because you can't even find Oppenheimer on the shelves, So I think he's starting the trend to buy it again, because when you pay for it online, they take it away. So it's like, you should own the physical thing. I have 400 DVDs for a reason. So
exactly. Same. Like I'm like on the hunt too right now.
Yep.
Whenever I see stuff. Richard, thank you so much, man. I appreciate your time. Everybody, Roswell Delirium. Again, links in the description below. I'm Kuya P. This is Nerds Rule the World.